Welcome to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts and one of your commissioners and out of the playoffs, but that's okay. My name is Frankie, and sitting across from me, actually right next to me, no longer across the internet from me, is Cam. Cam, how are you doing?
Doing all right, Frankie. You may be out of playoffs, but I am finally in the actual playoffs, playing some games. Real stressed out, actually, now that I think about it.
We'll talk about it quite a bit. Yeah, so rough week for me. Just barely lost out. Russell Wilson crushing my dreams Monday night, as some of us were there watching that game together. It was a good time. Good luck to you, Justin, my fellow commissioner, in your game this week. I don't know. Let's get right into it.
Wow. Should I be insulted? That's rough.
I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I honestly don't really have a horse in that race because, I don't really want Justin to win because he beat me. And I feel like it's been a long time coming for you. But just with all the injuries plaguing your team and everything else around it, I think the question is who has the best chance to beat either Dylan or Tyler. And at this point, it might be Justin. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's get right into it. Thanks you all for joining us for another episode. I'll start off with housekeeping, go into our waiver discussion, weekly rewinds. We'll do a consolation bracket check-in. We'll do another check-in on our team's draft, see how that's going so far. We'll do a deep dive into this week's playoff matchups. We'll follow up with our pick'em segment, and then we'll have a mailbag at the end. How's it sound to you?
Ooh, it's going to be a good semis podcast. Best one so far.
Alrighty. So let's start with some housekeeping. Cam, this one's on Cam. I did not put it in that we need to talk about the buy-in. But maybe we get to talk about the buy-in a little bit more, just a little bit of a check-in. Greg, Justin, Lassie, Levi, and Logan have all not paid. Greg cannot win consolation bracket at this point, which means he has to pay. Levi also out of the money, which means he has to pay. I think Logan's could got a possibly shot, win money still. Justin can still win money still. So I guess you guys can hold on to the last second if you'd really like to, but it's only a click of the thumb away on your Venmo to pay me and show some respect for the league, your league mates, and for all those things we have going on here.
We should all see each other this Thursday night at Justin's house.
That's true.
Perfect opportunity.
That'll be a great one. As you guys saw on the Snapchat, yesterday, I guess, Cam bought a belt. It's massive. The pictures don't even do it justice. It's sitting right next to us, and it's a unit. So congrats to whoever wins that. I'll be holding on to it until the championship actually happens. So now you'll have prize money and a belt to look out for.
You could bring that to the game tomorrow too, just so everyone can see it.
Just kind of put it in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And then last bit of housekeeping is there was talk this morning of Devin being like, oh, is the seating wrong for consolation? And it's like, yeah, it is. Well, the seating isn't wrong, but whatever. It's just like the matchups are wrong. Look, I said I could change it. I went to the settings section. The little green button that usually says like, hey, you can edit the week's matchups. It's grayed out for some reason, probably because it's playoffs, or I don't know why. Probably can't change it. So I'll try messing around with the seating, see if that affects anything. I tried it a little bit earlier this morning and it didn't change anything, but I'll keep trying. Worst comes to worst, I guess we can just read out the matchups right now then, just so everyone's totally aware. So the consolation matches this week at the top of the consolation ladder. We have Jake versus Lassie, Logan versus Devin in the middle, and then we have Greg versus JP at the bottom. So just keep that in mind, and I'll probably make it some kind of. I know I said I'd make a graphic last week, but I'm still in the thick of finals stuff. You guys aren't, so if you want to contribute, you could do that. Anyways, alrighty. So let's talk now about the waivers that went through this morning. The big ticket item, Derrick Henry, who had the best fantasy day of any player this season, goes for $58 to Dylan, who we both noted here bid $1 over Tyler's full amount going into the waivers at $57. He might not end up playing Derrick Henry, but he did a good job playing keep away, especially considering it's playoffs, must-win matchup.
Mm-hmm.
The next, we got some defenses getting picked up. Nothing too big, although you had a note about Justin's pickup.
So Lassie over here picked up the Lions defense and the Patriots defense, both for $10. bringing his running total of defensive special teams on his roster to 4 of them for 2 weeks remaining.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't pick up the Falcons defense, which was the only one that Justin bid on. So come on, Lassie, help a brother out.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's essentially it. From the waivers, some other.
Shout out to Greg and JP, even though they're in the very bottom, still putting in waiver claims, doing stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, they have stuff to fight for. I mean, they got trying to avoid losing the league, as opposed to people like me and Levi who actually have nothing to fight for. This week's game means absolutely nothing for us.
Unless you make it mean something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about like trying to boost up my points for on the season. That's like essentially it. But yeah, alrighty. Let's do now our weekly rewinds, and we'll just talk about the 2 matchups that mattered this week, the 2 playoff matches. We'll start off at the top here. Levi versus Tyler. Tyler coming out with the upset. Cam predicted that one correctly, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I know we disagreed on pretty much all of the matchups going into this week. You were right about both playoff matches, actually, which is unfortunate for me. But starting with this one, yeah, Tyler ends up pulling out the upset over Levi, and I guess we can just start on the Levi side, kind of think about what went wrong here. I guess my big takeaways from Levi's side is like his good players did well, like did fine, like good to solid-ish, but like there was no boom, and Cam Newton disappointed with only about wanted at least like 10 more points out of him. Just generally won about 20 points or more for your quarterback every week. And then we talked about it a little bit last week, and it's been an ongoing issue for Cam Newton this whole year is this shoulder injury. I don't know if that's really a factor, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been wise to look elsewhere, but that's a tough one. And then so I'm saying his players did all right. Ingram for 11.8, Hopkins for 11, Michael Thomas for 15. That was all pretty good. And then you see Kelsey over here for 17. But it was basically matched with Ebron for 14.5. So it's like even when he did have players that did well, it was pretty much matched by Tyler. Speaking of matching, their flex positions, Chris Godwin, 1 reception off of 10 targets for 13 yards, better than Antonio Callaway's 1 reception for 0 yards, but not great. And my only other piece on Levi's side here is I think it might have been wise to, obviously with hindsight, but look somewhere else for for defense, other than Texans, even though they have been solid for pretty much the entire season. The Colts over the past month have been averaging, I think, like 30 to 35 points a game. Andrew Luck has been playing really well, and considering our scoring format has a bigger emphasis on points scored than it is like yards given up, that might have been a wise to look elsewhere. But ultimately, it wasn't enough. So if we look over more at Tyler's side, Julio Jones, touchdown Jones. 5 touchdowns in the last 6 games, 2 of them in this week, coming up clutch for him. Just you love to see that. Especially he picked up the slack, AB slack, in a game where the Raiders really stepped up against the Steelers. Their secondary stood up against the Steelers. Save for some big plays from Juju. And I mentioned earlier, Ebron good for another touchdown in this game. And it's another down week for James White. He's been a little hot and cold recently, and he gets the Steelers this week, and they have probably a top 6 or top 7, maybe even top 5, depending on who you ask, a defensive line against the run. So I don't super love that going forward. But what were your takeaways?
I also noticed what you said about Levi's defense, how he probably could have looked elsewhere. But I looked over the defenses that were available last week, and the highest scoring waiver wire defense was the Giants, who scored 20 points, which is pretty good.
Yeah. But
still wouldn't have been enough to put Levi over the top, just because his team just disappointed so much.
Yeah.
It was just a rough week for him. Yeah.
Yeah, rough week at the worst time possible. Levi will not repeat as back-to-back champion. Both me and Levi are out, so we will have a new champion this year. That's exciting. I think, at least.
It's exciting for me.
Let's go into my matchup now, quickly here. On my side, Ben missed about a third of the Steeler game, still comes away with almost 20 points, but it could have been somewhere closer to the 25 range, which would have ended up putting me over the top if he had stayed healthy. Because once he got back in, the offense was clicking, and he got injured right as the offense started clicking at the end of the first half, which is really unfortunate, and they got the ball back to start the third quarter. That's unfortunate. But I really needed Philip Lindsay to go big this week, and he was kind of gets bailed out with a touchdown here, but just couldn't get anything going. The San Francisco came to play against the Broncos in that game. Sony Michel gets the work, 20 carries, but is painfully inefficient at 57 yards, and then gets, he had at least 3, maybe even more attempts at a goal line touchdown, and just this wasn't meant to be. Speaking of goal line work that wasn't meant to be, Cortland Sutton didn't come in the clutch for me. I mentioned last week that this matchup might come down to if I make the right start-sit decision on my receivers, which it did, because I made the wrong one again for like the 10th time this season. Cortland Sutton gets injured, has the thigh injury he's been dealing with, but he also was overthrown in the end zone twice by Case Keenum. Very frustrating. And I noticed this earlier in the week, and I was thinking about it, how last season I started the season going in on the Steelers offense and the Broncos offense, which bit me, and here I am relying on the Steelers and the Broncos offenses, which kind of bit me the next year. All right. Well, maybe I'll try to switch up my strategy next year. We'll see. Probably not.
Nah, come on.
And then looking over to Justin's side, what my big takeaway on Justin's side overall is he picks up Dante Pettis off the waivers this last week. And I could have outbid him for it, but I legitimately thought that Dante Pettis was kind of a fool's goal. I didn't think he'd be able to do much in a matchup against Denver. Gets bailed out by a touchdown. 50 yards isn't too bad either. But if I picked him up and even just slotted him away or started him myself, I would have won the matchup. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Hilton goes for 199 yards. What? No touchdowns, but that's insane. McCaffrey and Mixon do the thing he has to do every week. But as I alluded to earlier, Russell Wilson almost ruins his season, almost ruined Justin's season here. Saves it in the fourth quarter with that 30-yard run and then the 2-point conversion to seal it up completely. But yeah, it was a close one. But Justin, congrats, and good luck this next week. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. So I just want to paint the picture.
Yeah.
For everyone that wasn't at my house during this Monday Night Football game.
Uh-huh.
Go in there. You were up 7 at the end of last night.
It's true.
But then a stat correction on Philip Lindsay that we figured out made you only up 5.
Yeah.
By the start of the Monday Night Football game. So that was already a punch in your gut, seems like. But then it's like the third quarter. Russell Wilson maybe at 2 points and he needs 5. And I just noticed, everything just seemed brighter to you. The food we got you tasted better just because there was hope that Russell Wilson might not actually pull this off. The Vikings had to punt the ball back to the Seahawks, and it's this is perfect. They just have to run the ball, just kill clock, don't even have to pass it. And, there's a good shot. Russell Wilson could just choke this away for Justin. And then the first play of that drive, I think, just a 40-yard run. And it's game.
Yeah, it was rough. So I came into the game not really expecting anything. It was just kind of this is so unlikely it could possibly happen. Sleeper had me at a 0% chance of winning. By the middle of the fourth quarter, I had an 88% chance of winning by Sleeper's odds, and then one play changed it all. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, this game just showed how important start-sit decisions actually are in fantasy.
Yeah. Because
literally, either you guys, or if Justin started the other quarterback, he would have lost. Any other flex option instead of, or I guess wide receiver option instead of Dante Pettis, he would have lost. If he didn't start Devin Funchess, then he probably would have won already going in to that Monday Night Football game. Just so many things that could have changed this matchup. It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sad now. Let's move on. So I guess let's do a consolation check-in here. We'll talk about the consolation matches here.
So last week, the top matchup in the consolation ladder was Jake Logan versus Devin. And that really came down to Devin's main teams that he invested in, the Rams and the Eagles.
Philly Dilly.
Both not doing great. Rams getting shut down by my Bears D.
Yeah.
And Zeke on Jake's team basically put the team on his back, and he was fine. And then JP, poor guy, played Amari last time when he had 90-yard touchdown or whatever.
Yeah.
Plays him again this week. He has 3 touchdowns.
40, almost 45 points.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Poor JP. Putting him down in that bottom seat of the consolation. And then Logan, we've said a lot that he hasn't been able to win games for the last couple weeks. Basically the whole season. But he does just enough to beat Greg, scoring 8 more points, 62-70. Truly a matchup deserving of that bottom spot of the consolation ladder.
That has to be the lowest scoring matchup of the season.
that game combined for less than most people's like top scores of the season.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like combined for less than a Lassie. Like, yeah, and less than Dylan. Yeah. Wow.
All right. Yeah, but so this week, we got our top matchup between Jake Logan and Lassie, who, I don't know, in my opinion, are probably the two best teams still remaining in Consolation.
Yeah.
So whoever wins this is my favorite to win the final Consolation, championship that everyone covets so much. Next up, you got Logan, who's playing against Devin. Devin reeling on the side, but now he's got his Rams playing his Eagles. Don't know how that's going to go, but Logan needs this win if he wants to get that Consolation championship that he values so much.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bottom, JP, after a left break, playing Greg. Greg's probably, if you're betting in Vegas, the most likely to lose this Consolation ladder.
Mm-hmm.
But JP's just got to make sure he gets his business done to not be in that last place game this week.
Yeah, some interesting stuff in the Consolation. I don't have much to add. I don't care about Consolation. Anyways, moving on. So let's do a check-in now on our teams draft. We did several weeks ago now. We talked about it last week, and we covered this week as well. Just to recap the teams. Cam, you have Levi, Jake, Justin, Tyler, JP, Logan. I have Cam, Dylan, Devin, myself, Lassie, and Greg. We both have 2 teams still left in playoffs. Mine being Cam and Dylan, you be Justin and Tyler. That's actually interesting. We have opposite. They're not playing each other at all, right? So it's it could be that they both matches could go either way. We can have one. We could be guaranteed 1 and 2, or
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
So how do you feel about your team?
I feel like Tyler's definitely the underdog in his game. But of all the teams that could pull up the upset, he's got the most experience there. Yeah. And then Justin's on my team, so, if I lose, then I still get Justin the championship. It was just as important to me as everything else. So, feeling all right. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like I think they're still pretty balanced team because we both have, I would say at this point Dylan's the favorite to win it all. He's on my team, and I have just have Lassie on my team, who I think is the favorite to win Consolation. But, I mean, I would still probably... We'll talk about it in a little bit. But I still feel like you and Justin's maybe a bit of a toss-up, but I still think you have a good shot to win, and Jake has a good shot to win Consolation. So I think the teams are pretty balanced, but I do have Greg on my team, who I think is most likely to end up being last place overall. I guess, I was talking about earlier, mine and Levi's matchup doesn't have any importance next week.
Right.
This does have points. Could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, and one other thing I noticed, not really related to this, is the semifinals is both 2 Rotlac teams and 2 Alphas. So not just fighting for playoff or for winning the league, fighting for your division representation.
Yeah, that's true. Alrighty, so now let's get into talk about this week's matchups for the playoffs, the semifinals round, and we'll start here with Tyler versus Dylan, and we'll just go position by position and see what we're thinking here. Andrew Luck versus Patrick Mahomes. Andrew Luck against Dallas on a surging Indianapolis team after the stumble a week ago, but got back in line against the Texans. Then you have Mahomes on Thursday night versus the Chargers. Even though the Chargers have been a strong defense this year, I feel like Patrick Mahomes has been unstoppable.
Yeah, no look passing all over the place. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And moving here to the starting running back decision, we have some interesting stuff on Dylan's side because of the James Conner injury. Still not super sure that's going to pan out. Mike Tomlin saying today that for an off week, James Conner made a lot of stride in his recovery. So we could be seeing him coming back in this week against New England. But for now, he has Dalvin Cook and Chris Carson, 2 also, I think, pretty solid starts this week. And then on Tyler's side, James White against, we talked earlier about a good Pittsburgh defensive line, and Nick Chubb, who's just been nearly unstoppable going against Denver. Who got kind of exposed this week. Nick Chubb could end up being the overall highest scorer of the 4, but I think if you're looking at both of them together, I think I'd probably say Dylan's favorite in the running back department as well. What do you think?
Yeah, James White the last couple weeks just hasn't been able to do much for his team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he got 15 against Minnesota, but that was off the back of a Or was it off back touchdown?
Yeah,
No,
he
he got 92 receiving yards.
He had a bunch of receptions that game. But that's what he does.
Yeah, so. But last week, only 2 catches, so you got to hope that he'll put up more points this time. Which, I mean, it's at Pittsburgh, so you got to hope that they can, or the Steelers can put up a lot of points so the Patriots have to pass a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Denver just getting embarrassed by the Niners. Don't know if they're going to come to play against the Browns or if they're just done for the season. But I think Tyler's definitely got the most variability. Dylan's definitely got a solid floor, though.
Yeah, that's it. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Minnesota offense, knowing that they just fired John DeFilippo. See if they do end up giving Dalvin Cook some more work. But yeah.
Yeah, real quick on that. What do you think Dylan wants to happen there for his team? Because he's got both Vikings wide receivers and their running back. So if they turn to a running team, sure, it'll help Dalvin Cook, but that'll just kill more time and get less targets to his wide receivers, it seems like. So I honestly don't know if that's what he wants, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you want the potential of having the big plays through the air, instead of having just somebody who's like a 4-yard play grinder like Dalvin Cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's go into wide receivers now here. Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen on Dylan. So I guess we can throw in the flex there as well, because they're both doing wide receivers for now at least. Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs on Dylan's side, and then we have Julio, Touchdown Jones, AB, and a get-right game against New England, and Willie Snead versus the beatable Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The star power, it's almost debatable, because like most of the time you look at Tyler's team and think he has the star power at least on his team wide receiver wise, but Willie Snead knocks it down a little bit. And considering what Thielen's done this year, how Keenan's turned his season around about halfway through now, and how Stephon Diggs been a little bit up and down, but he's been getting on the right track. Another one where if you're just looking at matchup wise, I think the Vikings still do have a shot at making playoffs, and I think they really want to win at home against Miami. And then, I think the Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen can do some big stuff against Kansas City. So, yeah, I think overall, I'm once again going to favor Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, the matchups here, too. Keenan Allen up against Kansas City, at least I'm thinking that's going to be a high-scoring game, and the Chargers' offense right now is running through Keenan Allen. He got a lot against Steelers, and that was more high-scoring game than it was last week, so it could be just like that this week with Kansas City. And then Miami was doing pretty well to shut down that Patriots air attack last week, but that was at home against a division opponent. You have no idea what will happen this week when they have to travel across the country up to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, Julio Jones versus Arizona. That team just can't do anything on offense right now, but they have a pretty good defense. So you don't know how much the Atlanta offense will really need to use Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So that might not bode well for Tyler there. But Antonio Brown versus New England. I don't know. How does he do against them historically? What do you think?
I think he usually does well. Because the Patriots don't typically have they don't typically have a top 5 or top, not necessarily top 10 in the league shutdown cornerback. That's not usually their game. They're kind of more be able to scheme against the Steelers. So he usually does well. It's interesting because most of the time the Steelers and the Patriots play each other this late in the season. It's 2 teams on a collision course to the AFC Championship or something like that. Both teams are these are get right games for both teams. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really interesting. I feel like Ben has his rib injury, which is fine. He's fine.
He's big.
Such a baby. And AB had almost no production this last week, so I feel like this is a big week because it's gonna be a big week for Antonio Brown, who has a history of complaining and being the squeaky wheel when he doesn't get the targets that he wants. So I think AB could do some really big stuff this week. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Willie Snead, just the left out little brother here. Honestly, he's been doing fine. Oh God, I guess last week he did fine, but the 2 weeks before that, 0 points and 1.3 points. Tyler's just got to hope that he can get him a solid baseline and not crash his team, because I don't know if he's got anyone else that I would rather start over him.
Yeah, I chalk those weeks more up to growing pains with Lamar Jackson taking over. But yeah, I wouldn't like to. If I'm Tyler, I wouldn't like to start Willie Snead, but he still could come away with this game with 2 touchdowns and save it, and it would not even be a big deal.
At least it's against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And then I guess we can talk about kickers and defense because it actually does matter. Zerline just solid every week. Rams against a Philadelphia Eagles, who a team that I think should probably dominate, considering the Philadelphia Eagles has one of the most beat up defenses in the league, and the Rams are still trying to get that number 1 spot here in the NFC. Matt Prater versus Buffalo. Oh my God, Lions versus Buffalo this week.
Yeah,
that's boring.
Yeah.
I don't have any takeaway. I don't have any.
I honestly think Tyler should look a different direction for his kicker.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, Justin just dropped Chris Boswell, so maybe.
Chris 1 point last week. Boswell.
He hit 3 extra
slipped
points.
To miss the game.
No, it's not my fault.
Goal.
It's not his fault. The Oakland Raiders field is so awful. It's always terrible. It's
yeah, but they might come to Portland this next season. Because they're leaving Oakland, but they aren't ready in Las Vegas, so they're gonna move to a different city for like a season or two.
We don't have a football field.
I don't know. They can play where the Timbers play. They'll probably just go like San Diego or something.
They cannot play. Or they cannot play.
Yeah, why not?
Hey, dude, he doesn't even hold like a quarter of the size of an NFL stadium.
Oh.
Maybe it does. I don't know, but I feel like it's way too small. Although, how many Raiders fans are there really in Portland? I feel like there can't be that many.
My dad. There's one.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I go to a Raiders game.
Yeah, I totally would.
And then let's look at defenses here. Interesting on Dylan's side, Seattle, historically good defense, started off the season not as great and has been a bit up and down. But San Francisco, even, we saw them this week play really well. San Francisco generally and historically plays their division teams really well at home. So I think that could, that could play into, giving up some yards and some scoring on the Seahawks side. And then, Philadelphia, considering Nick Foles is probably going to play this week, that could give them the spark that the Eagles have been looking for ever since the beginning of the season pretty much, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
I honestly think that bodes really well for the Rams defense.
Yeah.
And especially Aqib Talib is back now. That could help Tyler win this matchup.
Yeah.
And also, we forgot to talk about tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
With Dylan being locked down by George Kittle this whole season, playing him locked and loaded tight end 1. But this week they play Seattle, who, we talked about does have a decent defense right now, and is also Dylan's defense. So if George Kittle does go off like he can do, could hurt Dylan in other positions. And then Eric Ebron, stud as soon as he leaves the Lions.
Yeah. So he's going to get on a high-powered offense. All right, let's get into now the next matchup in the playoffs here. Your matchup versus Justin. Start off at the quarterback position. Phillip Rivers, we talked about quite a bit. It's going to, I think, this Chargers are been playing well, looking to be an actual contender in the AFC as they have been all season against Kansas City. A very beatable defense this week, as opposed to Russell Wilson, who is coming off of a bad week, going to San Francisco, who, like I said, usually plays their teams tight. I'm going to give the edge to Phillip Rivers in this one.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, historically, actually plays really bad in Kansas City, so I'm really nervous about that. But, this has been a better Chargers team than has been in recent years, and a worse Kansas City defense, even though Eric Berry might come back.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous there, but I don't know if I'd rather start Dak Prescott at Indianapolis. And then Russell Wilson, who needs to pass 10 times a game for his team to win, especially against San Francisco. I don't even know if he'll need to pass that much. Or he could start Jared Goff, who, I guess, versus Philly, they have no cornerbacks, but with Nick Foles, could the Rams just run the ball and just kill clock the whole game?
Yeah.
A couple of tough decisions for Justin there. I know what I hope he does. I'm not going to say. And, yeah, but I think I have the edge as long as Rivers can not choke.
Yeah. Moving on now to running backs. You had some interesting stuff with the Melvin Gordon injury. I believe he was limited in practice today, was it?
I don't even know if they practice. They might be just traveling.
That's right, because they're playing tomorrow, so no practice.
But he made the trip.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So yeah, he's stuck with Justin Jackson here and Alvin Kamara. Oh, to be stuck with Alvin Kamara, although he's playing a divisional game against Carolina.
And he hasn't been great recently.
Yeah, I actually haven't been picking up on that.
Hasn't scored like any touchdowns the last couple weeks.
Not a great end of season schedule for him overall. Versus Chris McCaffrey and Joe Mixon, even though New Orleans has been as a defense that has been playing above the what most people believe is opposed to what they were playing at the beginning of last season. It doesn't matter. You put in Christian McCaffrey and he's going to do work. And then Joe Mixon, a favorable matchup against Oakland, although Oakland did shut down the Steelers running backs this week, but it's not like it's too hard to shut down Jalen Samuels and Stephen Ridley. And then even if Elvin Gordon does play, he could just be in a limited role. That's very possible. So I'm going to give the edge basically just because of Christian McCaffrey to Justin on the running back department.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey has been going insane recently.
Yeah.
But my only hope that he can actually get shut down is the Saints defense that has been playing really well. And they have a lot of experience against pass-catching running backs playing against Alvin Kamara. Maybe that'll help them. Maybe I'm just talking hopefully. I don't know. But we got those running backs playing against each other in that Monday night game.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. And then Joe Mixon. I just hope that Cincinnati offense is inept enough to where the Oakland defense can actually work against them. But not feeling hopeful. And then Melvin Gordon, just please play and don't play limited. I swear to God. I just start him and he gets 5 carries for 12 yards.
Be unfortunate.
Thursday night. Oh, God.
Yeah. Let's move on now to wide receivers here. Tyreek Hill and DJ Moore on your side here with Mike Williams in your flex. But on the opposite side, we have T.Y. Hilton, OBJ, and Dante Pettis on Justin's side. Tyreek, who's been dealing with a foot injury. His foot's bad. Are you aware?
Oh, is it bad?
His foot's bad. And we got DJ Moore here, who's been pretty decent to good recently, playing against the beatable New Orleans secondary. Ty, who was injured, who was missed practice on Wednesday last week, missing it again this week. He went for 200 yards last week, so I'm not super worried about that. Although it is against Dallas, and Dallas is actually becoming a playoff contender in the NFC, unfortunately. But yeah, and then OBJ, who seems to usually be hampered by something, so it didn't. Let's see, he's officially limited Wednesday. That's today. Has another couple days to prepare for this. I think he'll be good to go. Against a Giants team who actually does still have a chance of making playoffs, very slim, and they've been playing well. So I'm just trying to talk through all this because I think it really does hinge on if Tyreek is going to be able to play at his full participation this week. And I'm not super excited to be playing Mike Williams in your flex.
Just hoping for that Phillip Rivers, Mike Williams stack. Get a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'm not super sure. Oh, Dante Pettis, man, this is not an easy position to call. I don't think. Oh, I mean, just because of the Tyreek injury, I think I might slightly favor Justin, but I might just won't even call it 50-50. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Honestly, I'm skeptical about Odell Beckham's availability this week. Considering he seemed all fine last week, then as soon as game time rolled around, they're like, oh, he's not playing.
Yeah.
And, I don't think the Giants really think they have much to play for. So why risk your star wide receiver? Maybe I'm still just, trying to talk myself into things. But I'm going to keep going with my narratives. T.Y. Hilton's got a bad matchup against Dallas. I think their defense is pretty legit right now. So Justin definitely has the better players on his team. But I got the matchups, so I think I got this.
All right. Let's go to tight end now here. Yeah, not excited on either side. I wouldn't be excited to start Jimmy Graham. I'd be fine starting Usama, though, against Oakland.
Yeah.
Historically, Oakland's been really bad against the tight ends. Yeah, I think you're definitely favored in this one.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham's got a broken thumb against Chicago. I could have, I don't know, some trash tight end, and I'd still feel better about my team. And, I have theory in my mind I picked up Ian Thomas from Carolina. Got a lot of targets last week, but he's playing New Orleans, who's pretty good against tight end. but last week gave up 2 touchdown catches to Cameron Brate. So if you need that Hail Mary play in the tight end spot, I got who I want.
Makes sense to me. Then kicker and defense. What's his name? Aldrich Rosas?
Dude, he's been legit recently. Look at that.
Yeah, cool. Almost, I guess, I would say irrelevant Giants because they've actually been playing well, but anyways. Versus Janikowski in what I think will probably be a lower scoring matchup, as opposed to the New York game where they can put up some points. Tennessee can put up some points too. I think, I don't know, you want to be in the matchup where there's more points being scored. But I don't know. It's kickers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Defense, Chicago going against Green Bay and Atlanta versus Arizona. I think Atlanta is probably a top 5 defense this week against Arizona. So I think I might give the favorite to Justin here.
Way I see it is Justin's defense pretty much guaranteed to get him like 5 or 10 or maybe 10 points because Arizona offense. But it's not a great defense at all.
Yeah.
Whereas I got a great defense going up against pretty good offense. But last week that happened, and Bears defense got 20 points from the Rams. So I definitely have more upside here, but Justin's is safer, but I'm playing for upside right now.
Alrighty. So that was our playoff preview, matchups preview here. I guess we had to pick. Do we pick?
Oh, we did not. Yeah.
Tyler versus Dylan. I feel like we went through it all and as we talked through it, Dylan's the favorite. I think we got to pick. I'm gonna pick him.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler, but you do better when the chips are down and everyone's against you. So I'm picking Dylan.
I mean, you said it earlier. If there's one team to upset Dylan, it's probably Tyler.
Yeah.
So, and then Cam versus Justin. Yeah, you said there's so many injury stuff going on your side. It's hard. Still reeling. I almost even didn't think about it this whole time. I'm still reeling from losing Kareem Hunt too.
So bad. I feel bad missing him because he's an awful person, but I miss him so much.
Yeah. So do you think you're still favored in this matchup?
No, I think I'm the underdog.
You think you're the underdog?
Dude, I am the team that went into playoffs with the first round bye, limped in there, and now they're playing teams that are worse than them, but favored against them. I'm the underdogs. I'm the Eagles from last season.
We're
gonna be wearing a dog mask come next week. Don't even worry.
But it's like, yeah, you have the quarterback. It's favorite. You're favored in quarterback, not in, your favorite quarterback. He's favored in running back. You're favored in wide receiver and tight ends, and then I guess he's favored in defense.
No, you should pick Justin.
Yeah, just for the sake of it, I'll pick Justin, I guess. But I don't know.
And I pick myself, and I hope that you get none of these playoff matchup correct predictions right.
Alrighty, let's talk quickly now about do a quick pick on the consolation matchups. We talked about my matchup too. Do you want to talk about my matchup?
Yeah. Frankie plays Levi for nothing.
We're not talking about
Levi gave up.
Nope.
Levi, I'm glad you're in the league. Sorry if I said anything mean, but please keep playing with us.
Levi,
you're cool.
I'm going to destroy you this week. I'll put you in your place this week, and the next week, and the week after that.
But maybe you don't play Chris Godwin in your flex against Baltimore. You probably have someone better than that.
Yeah. Should I play Blunt this week? That'd be fun.
Blunt, who got out carried by Zach Zenner, the albino rhino, last week. Yeah.
I mean, or I can play Tevin Coleman. I don't want to play Sonny Michel again. He was so inefficient and terrible.
James Devlin with those touchdowns.
Yeah. Is he on waivers still? I might pick him up.
James Devlin?
Yeah.
Why would anyone pick up a guy who has that? He has more touchdowns than yards.
I feel like JP is the kind of guy I'd pick up just because of the where is he? Just because of the
Patriots? No.
No? Alright, well maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Anyways. Jake versus Lassie. 104. Oh, that's right. Lassie's doing his mind game thing of not putting in any of his players. That's
works so well for Levi. Good idea, Lassie.
Yeah, Levi still. I mean, Lassie's. It's hard to count him out any week when you have Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Amari Cooper's continually going off. Although not a great matchup this week. 5 defenses now.
Oh my God.
5. When did that happen?
Maybe I just didn't notice.
5 defenses. Bruh, you gotta chill.
Retcon what I said earlier.
Yeah, Jars actually got back on track this week, and they won, so that's kind of crazy. It hasn't really happened all season. Yeah, I think Lassie's probably the favorite, even though I haven't looked at Jake's team yet, just because of what I've said before.
Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah.
Come on, Jake. At least play Josh Allen.
Yeah, Z takes break on Wednesday this week. That's not a big deal. I think Gus Edwards is a good play this week. Wouldn't love playing Mike Evans against Baltimore. Always like playing Robert Woods. He has Corey Davis on his flex. That's never a good idea. Yeah, I mean, Lassie's a favorite, I think, for sure. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Lassie's going to win. Sorry, Jake.
And then Greg versus JP. It's hard to pick Greg in any matchup just because he doesn't have any boom on his team. Leonard Fournette gets a banged-up Washington defense. But nothing else I like on Greg's team. Aaron Rodgers, has been playing so okay to just fine this season. I don't love him at all against Chicago on a team that really wants to make a playoff push in Chicago. And then JP has David Johnson, he was injured. He didn't play today, did he? He didn't practice today, did he? Missed practice Wednesday. Yeah,
that's Wednesday.
Which not a big deal. But we did talk about this earlier. Gronk destroys the Steelers.
Yeah, he does.
He demolishes the Steelers. So I think JP's the clear pick here.
Wait, by playing safety?
Not by playing safety.
Oh, okay.
He's quite bad at that, actually.
Yeah, I pick JP. Sorry, Greg.
And then all the way down in the losers department here, Devin versus Logan here. Look at Logan first. Elijah McGuire, Kenyon Drake. Oof. Yeah, I was about to talk about the Green Bay matchup. Devontae Adams against the Chicago team that wants it, even though he's been super good all year. How can you project Larry Fitzgerald over 10 points in any matchup this season? That's insane, Sleeper. As opposed to Devin, who has Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks. Yeah, I think. And Ertz. And I get with Foles as a quarterback, though, with Alshon and Ertz. I feel like Devin's the favorite just with Todd Gurley on his team. And, Jordan Howard, I think this week. Jordan Howard was okay this week. So, yeah, I think Devin's the favorite here, but it's not looking great for either team.
Yep. Devin's definitely the favorite, but this is my upset of the week.
I'm upset. Louder! I'm upset. Louder! I'm upset! Say it louder! I'm upset!
I almost forgot about that entirely.
Yeah. It's the last matchup we're talking about, but I think Logan is just going to have some crazy BS. No point that this should ever happen. Chris Herndon is going to get 5 touchdowns. And then Logan's going to find himself in that Consolation Championship game that he covets so much. Oh, also.
Yeah.
I was talking to Kaylee earlier this week about fantasy.
Did she give you some advice?
Not really.
Oh.
But we did talk about Consolation and about how, Consolation is coveted in this league. And she said that's because it's for losers. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some serious shade right there.
She knows winners go to playoffs.
Yeah, winners like me who lose in the first round of the playoffs and just have nothing to play for the last 2 weeks. Alrighty, so was our pick'em segments, and let's do our mailbag. A much lighter mailbag than last week, which is fine with me. We have Dylan who writes in and he says, "What do I start if Connor can't play?" I think he meant to say who. It's very rude of you.
They're not things, Dylan. They're people.
Yeah. And he says 2 of Ware. I'll say the full name: Spencer Ware, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Deion Lewis, and Jalen Samuels, or at lack for life. Dylan, would you not give out start-sit advice on this program unless your name is Justin and I tell you to start Russell Wilson and then you beat me?
Actually, I think it's stupid of you to not just start the entire Tennessee backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're guaranteed to go off for over 200 yards and multiple touchdowns every week. So if you start both Lewis and Henry, you're going to get all that production.
That's true. You can get every single carry in that game from them.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Come on.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Name of a Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I have been Frankie.
And I'm Cam.
And we'll come back at you next week with a championship week preview. We'll go over these matches we just talked about as well. Yeah, good luck to everyone in your matchups.
Can't wait to talk about my team next week.
And we will see you all next time.
Peace.